Okay, so this video continues on building upon what you learned about dealing with frozen emotions. So if there's frozen emotions, okay, the frozen emotion is covering some type of wound. So you have an experience or experiences that cause you suffering, and the frozen emotions, it froze and it's stuck in your body, stuck in your subconscious, and behind it are the experiences that cause you suffering. So these experiences cause some type of wounding in your emotional body, psychological body, okay? So these are wounds that actually needs to be processed. And if you process it, it doesn't have to be glued and be frozen in your body. It could be released because of unprocessed suffering, oftentimes, even when you think about the experience, you can have a reaction, you can remember the pain. But the thing with our body is that if we actually release it, release the frozen emotions, process these emotional, psychological wounds and traumas, then you don't have to actually relive the pain over and over again. So some people have a one-time experience or multiple times experiences with something, and they're living it thousands and tons and thousands of times for years, decades, for some people generations. So we wanted to teach you a process so you don't have to repeat your suffering either consciously or unconsciously over and over again. Okay, so here's what I call this practice is I call it the touch the wound technique. So when you do the touch the wound technique, this is a checklist you want to just make a note of or write down, which is you want to touch grief, you want to touch sadness, touch fear, touch not safe, touch not trusting. So the key phrase here is to touch, and we're using our intention to touch it, and you're touching it with our heart. So when there's pain, oftentimes our mind and our body, our ego doesn't want to touch the pain because we got hurt, right? So when we get hurt, we don't want to touch it anymore, we want to avoid it. So this is actually the opposite of that. You want to fully feel it because our physical heart is actually connected to a greater consciousness, intelligence of the universe. And if we could feel it rather than avoid it, then this consciousness can actually process the pain for you, and you could then release it. Okay, if you're doing with all these other things that we talked about, like smoking, drinking, shopping, all these things are avoidance and coping techniques, and you're not actually processing the emotions, then you are repeating the suffering over and over again. So let's do the touch the wound technique. So watch the other video about the frozen emotions. So this time, I want you to just use your breath and set the intention to touch it. Just imagine there's a wound, there's a cut, okay? Even though it might have healed, the wound is deeper buried inside. Set the intention to touch it. Like, touch the pain and follow your breath. Okay, do the 3-second hold, 3-second inhale, 3-second exhale. Okay, do that for a number of sequences. Touch the sadness. Do that, same sequence. Touch not safe. Touch any type of fears. Touch grief. Touch not trusting. So do that for the list that I just gave you. Notice what happens. And if you're noticing releases or detoxing, that's a very good sign. So I want you to practice with this on your whatever the response that's causing you suffering, which this is called the touch the wound technique. And in another video, I'm just going to talk about the observation technique. So so thanks, and I'll talk to you then.